Welcome back to Local Garden Queens. Back in the Brooklyn garden to do another tour. It's mid-August. Garden's been producing for a little bit over a month now, and at this point it's probably at its peak. So let's go ahead with the tour and take a look what's growing here. Over by the house we have celery. About 4 plants here. I actually just picked a few branches. You can see down here it's a little empty. Over to the side here, I want to point out, so I think this is amaranth. It can be cooked, the leaves can be cooked and used as a spinach substitute. And once it makes seed, it makes so many little seeds. This thing is all over the yard, which is definitely not a bad thing. This plant, I'm not sure. I want to say it's amaranth as well. Not sure though. So, past this plant and passing the celery, we have the peppers. Let's come in here. Let's take a look. Peppers hiding here. Nice little pepper harvest. And here's some here. Again, these aren't the first peppers. They've been picked before. So, like I said, it's been producing for almost a month, or a little bit more than a month, maybe. Now we passed some mint that's been here since early spring, and the onion, or green onion. And we're coming back around to one of the first beds at the entrance of the garden. So we have the green onion here and eggplant next to it in full production. We have the flowers and we have the little baby eggplants. Coming around the bed, these are hot peppers, habanero. I don't see, they haven't turned color yet, still waiting, but it's definitely full. It's full of peppers. We have the squash here, zucchini, which is not looking too healthy. You can see by the leaves, it has mold all over it, or mildew actually, and they are going to be gone soon. But they produce so much. There was a zucchini here also that died, and this one is definitely almost done. I want to see if I can find some squash bugs. I did see some last week here. You can see the eggs still left over. Now the actual bugs I don't see, but they were okay. Let me see. There they are. There they are, crawling through there. It's little gray bugs. That's the culprit that's killing the zucchinis. But that's all right. We collected some, and they can't last forever. So coming back around the bed, you can see peppers in the pots here. This one is full color red, and there's some green ones here on the side. That's going to be picked soon. Of course, the red one is definitely ready. Here's the kale bed with some Swiss chard on the sides here. And you see the lettuces, they've bolted and gone to seed. Let me come in a little closer. You can see the seeds. A lot of seeds here. It's full of seeds. So I'm hoping I'll collect. The plan is I'm going to collect some seeds from the lettuce and maybe at the end of this month or beginning of September, I will scatter them around some beds and we will have a lettuce harvest in the fall. Moving along, we have some cucumbers. You see a cucumber that's ready to be harvested. And here's a new one growing with some flowers mixed in. Also some more squash here, some zucchini. You can see this plant looks healthier than the other ones producing. And this one doesn't have anything as of now. Next bed here is more cucumbers vining along. They're actually grabbing on to the weeds here, as you can see. Let me see if there's any cucumbers, and there is this one on the ground here, getting bigger. Intermixed is yellow squash somewhere in here. It's hard to see this plant because of the cucumber, but it's obviously still producing. Let's have a look at the Cuban oregano spreading. I remember when it was about this size originally. Now it's spreading out of the pot. And this bed also consists of lettuce that's bolting. And further down is more squash with some kale intermixed. And right here, climbing up this branch, it's a trellis, you see some long bean. Over to the side here is a weed area. This was a herb garden. This is normally an herb garden in the spring, but this was just left on its own, and it's grass and weeds. And you can see the two transplanted kales. They're not doing great, but that's okay. Maybe they'll pick up once the temperature cools down. So let me come around this bed here, and this kale looks very good, very good. Large leaves. You can see they've been picked. They are being used for juicing and in salads. And let me come in closer. You see a yellow squash here, along with some tomatoes. Let me see if I can show you these tomatoes. Yes, I don't know where the tomato plant is, but it's in there somewhere. Making tomatoes. And here's another look on the other side of the zucchini plants, over on the the bed that's not raised. So coming over here, this is another mounted bed. It's intermixed with kale, and the long bean is definitely taking it over. There's a trellis here somewhere, hard to see, but the long bean is doing his job, and the kale is still growing and making more leaves. You see the comfrey plant all the way in the corner here. And of course, this was a bed of potatoes, and you can see the amaranth taking over. I know the plan for this former potato bed was to seed out some bok choy, but I think a lot of the seeds didn't sprout because it's just been too hot. They like cooler temperatures. I don't know if there's more bok choy seeds, but if there are, I'm sure they're gonna be scattered once again, or maybe the ones that were here already, maybe they'll sprout eventually once the temperatures cool down. So the next bed is all tomatoes. There's a mix of them. This cherry, they're all cherry tomatoes. There's Cherokee purples, and there's cycle. So they start out like this, then they start changing color into this, and then eventually they turn almost all red, like these tomatoes here. This bed is full of tomatoes. Intermixed are orange cherry tomatoes. I don't know the cultivar name of them, but they're very sweet. The next bed over is the trellis. This has the big trellis starting from one end and climbing all the way up. So this consists of long bean and bitter melon. This was a good year for bitter melon, I have to say. A lot of production. Here's some here. Here's a different variety here. It's not as spiky, I guess. And down here underneath looks like a pumpkin, or maybe butternut squash. There's plenty of butternut squash here all over the yard, and I'll show you that in a moment. So you can see also the different stages of the long bean. This long bean here is obviously dried up and it's full of seed. This is ready. You can harvest this and replant it. Now, fresh long bean or immature long bean is what you want to harvest. Here's some very immature, some baby long beans. You want to usually harvest in a middle stage, the size of the dried up one, but bigger than the baby, which I don't really see anything. But again, production is great. Let me pan out to the bed next to it. This is another trellis bed with, of course, the long bean climbing. Down here we see some zucchini or yellow squash kind of taking over. I don't see any yellow squash at the moment, but there are plenty of flowers. This is the herb I mentioned in a previous video. I'm not sure what the name of this herb is, and I did describe its taste in the previous video. This, I think, is a avocado pit that sprouted. Unfortunately, probably October, November, this thing is going to be dead because of the freeze. So next bed over, again, you see the herb here. And eggplant. This is the eggplant area, the eggplant bed. Plenty of eggplants all over here. Plenty of flowers in production. Okay, so now we're getting into dense growth. If you see, we have I think this is butternut squash climbing along, maybe some pumpkin mixed in. So let me start from the corner of the garden. It's going to be very difficult to walk through here. I'll try my best. I don't want to step on any of the vines. So you see the butternut just creeping along everywhere. It's starting to climb the trellis. In the previous video, I had predicted that more than half this garden is going to be covered in the vines. It's not exactly half, but it's close. So this is the butternut. Let me show you one of them. It's not ripe yet. You can see it still has some green on it. Maybe a few more weeks it'll ripen up. And let me go through here. You can see some more long bean. through this jungle. Some comfrey here over in the corner. Of course, some more butternut squash. Grow in every direction possible. Of course, little tomatoes snuck in here. Tomato plant climbing as high as possible. Right here you see the little tomatoes. So let me just walk along this area. By the way, plenty of mosquitoes. I am fully covered right now from head to toe because they're just buzzing all over me right now. So I'm looking around to see if I can find some more butternut hidden underneath the leaves here. Well, let me just keep on walking through here. Here we go. Here's a little immature one. Well, you get the point. Like I said, full production. So walking over to this bed, that's pretty much covered in squash, and we have some tomatoes here, and of course the carrot seeds. This was the carrot plant, and the carrot seeds are ready. I'm going to be harvesting them today and replanting them in the surrounding beds. Hopefully we'll get a nice carrot harvest at the end of fall and beginning of winter. Of course, it's a huge butternut squash here. Huge, over a foot long. This one's kind of elongated. It's big. So let me pan out under this Rose of Sharon tree and just take a quick look. See the compost and another butternut just hanging there. And let me take a walk straight down this way just to show you. A lot of food here. A lot of growth has happened. Passing the tomato plants. Of course, long bean doing its thing on the trellis. So let me show you here. Here's a pepper plant. I think this is called bird pepper. Very small peppers, very hot. And you can see this mound of plant debris. This is I think a pumpkin crawling along it, and the way I know it's a pumpkin, obviously not by the leaves, because this looks like a pumpkin here. So that's the garden, mid-August, full production, plenty of squash, butternut, zucchini, yellow squash. The zucchini and the yellow squash are definitely winding down, but they've been harvested plenty so far this month. And now it's the fall squashes and pumpkins' turn to overtake this garden eventually and give us some food for the fall into the winter. Of course, the kale, the peppers, the tomatoes, long bean, everything in full production. Garden's looking very healthy, and the plans are to collect the carrot seeds and the lettuce seeds and spread them out. The beds, hopefully there'll be some beds available by fall if the vines don't overtake everything. So like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to comment, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.